Well then, welcome to today's episode of Flow Meter Guy, where the currents of wit and wisdom flow as we explore the journeys of people building successful and unique businesses. Today's guest is one active guy in sports and a project specialist and registered professional engineer. He's in the tab and commissioning business with experience in the healthcare, medical research sector, and a focus on containment and cleanroom type environments. Well then, young man, what's your name? Who do you work for? What do you do for a living?
Sure. Well, Brent, first, thanks for having me. My name is Luke Bumgardner. I'm with Farnsworth Group, particularly in their commissioning group here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And as you said, I'm in the commissioning and tab industry and as a project specialist.
So when you're not being a project specialist, I understand you're a very active young man. What kind of sports and hobbies or things you get in trouble with after hours?
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm not working, very much enjoy playing baseball. That's probably been my passion from a young age. I think I started when I was 3 years old doing that.
3 years old?
Yeah.
So is that a family thing?
It was just my parents, both of them got me into it.
Yeah.
They still come to a lot of my games even to this day. So I can't give it up. I'm later in my 20s now, and so I've been doing it for 25 plus years. I know. Something I still do. I've coached teams.
Okay.
I've trained and mentored young people in baseball and professionally. But in baseball is kind of how I started to get into that of teaching and training.
So do you still play ball now?
Yeah, still do. I just play in some men's leagues here around the Atlanta area. Yep. But it's a great way. A lot of folks that I played with in college have stayed around Atlanta, and they still play. We all get together every summer, and it's a great way to stay connected.
Stay connected?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great sport. It's a big pastime here in the Atlanta area anyway.
It is.
And then in addition to that, you like to crawl around hills. What's the next step?
That's right. Hiking is a big thing. Number of friends from college as well, that it's a great way we stay in touch. Each year we kind of go out west or sometimes up and down the East Coast and do hiking. A buddy of mine got me into rock climbing. I guess that was the next step.
Rock
if hiking is not enough, hang off the side of the cliff. So that's been a fun hobby. Certainly has challenged me.
I could challenge anybody climbing rock. Do you do it indoors also? Or just,
yeah, indoors and outdoors, both. Certainly outdoors is a little more fun, but
yeah, the risk a little bit higher doing it outdoors versus indoors, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. It was fun to learn and continue to do. It's a lot of engineers do rock climbing because it's all about systems and your setup and logistics for safety. So if you read a lot of people's biographies who are rock climbers, a lot of them are engineers or something similar to that. It's pretty interesting.
Well, you sit back and calculate, how am I going to get up there?
Yeah, that's right.
And look at the face what's going on. So when you do the hiking, you said that you've done in the Carolinas and, of course, the Smokies are nearby here.
Yep.
You said out west. Where did you go out west? And then you said also went to Canada.
Yeah, Canada a few times, up in the Canadian Rockies. The most recent trip, again, it's my senior design group that I stay in touch with from college, and we typically go out there every year. So we went to the Banff area up there in the Canadian Rockies and went up through Jasper National Park and some other national parks nearby. So yeah, done quite the circuit over the past 5 or 6 years since we graduated with that group. And
you're busy.
Yeah.
You're busy and fit and much more fit than I am. So where'd you go to school? You going to school in the area here?
I did, yeah. I've lived in Atlanta area my whole life. My family's still around here, so it made sense to stay. But I went to Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech?
Yep. Don't hold it against me. So it's interesting. I studied biomedical engineering at Georgia Tech. And from a young age, I always kind of knew I wanted to get into problem solving and engineering. I just didn't know what type. And when I kind of selected what I wanted to do or study, the medical field interests me, still does to this day, as we'll probably talk about later. But yeah, did biomedical with the intent of, potentially working on prosthetics or product development in the medical industry. And after my 4.5 years of doing that, when I graduated, I just started looking for general engineering jobs that didn't necessarily have to be biomedical. A lot of those at the time were in California or in New England area. And as I mentioned, all my family or most of them are still here in Atlanta. Right. So it was quite the transition to jumping into mechanical engineering or HVAC. But what I tell people is it's the same principles. As you know, well, flow through a blood vessel, it just follows the same equations as flow through a pipe or wastewater, or whatever the case may be. So the physics is the same. The fluids are the same.
Isn't that
transfer. So, yeah.
So that process that you have there, did you have a mentor? How did you get pointed specifically in that direction?
Yeah. In terms of jumping into commissioning, which is what I still do today and how I entered into the industry, I had no idea what commissioning is. And you probably hear every commissioning agent say that.
Why don't you tell the audience what commissioning is?
Sure. So, that's a tough question. Maybe what isn't it?
What isn't it?
Some days it's carrying ladders around for 8 hours a day. Other days it's testing, compounding pharmacies, maybe in a hospital or in a compounding facility. So essentially commissioning is what we call functionally testing is the main bit of it. Equipment after it's installed or replaced, if it's the case of a renovation or a retrofit by an owner or a client. So traditionally people think of it as HVAC, testing air conditioning, but it also encompasses building envelope, plumbing, solar systems, you name it. Electrical, of course, has become more and more popular with where we're at with data centers nowadays. Right. So in a nutshell, that's commissioning. Again, I had no clue what it was, but I read the job description when I was coming out of college, and I think they had me at hands-on. I'm a very hands-on person. Yeah. I like a mix between being at my desk working on a computer and being out on site testing equipment. So when I read the job description, it really did fit that, and to this day, it's continued to fit that. So probably one of the reasons I've enjoyed it so much.
And so who guided you in this direction?
Yeah.
Who's your mentor? Who got you going?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had just tons and tons of great mentors over the year, thinking back to my childhood, whether it be playing baseball or in school, obviously. I think we all have teachers and coaches we think back on. Certainly, over the past 6 or 7 years, let's say, since entering the industry, a couple gentlemen really stand out. When I first started, I worked quite a bit with Curtis Anthony, who is very active in the NEB community, industry organization here. And for I guess almost 5 years, him and I worked almost every day together pretty much. And he really is who trained me from the get-go. Him and I spent a lot of time working at the Mayo Clinic Hospital down in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, yeah, so with that, yeah.
Yeah, and in a nutshell, he had just sold his business of almost 35 years in Oklahoma, 30 or 35 years in Oklahoma City, where he did tab commissioning, clean room certifications, fume hood testing, biosafety testing, you name it, he did it. Sound and vibration. He started as a pipe fitter with his dad's mechanical contracting company. So he was an awesome mentor to me. He still is to this day, the times we catch up. But what I learned from him weren't only the technical aspects of it, but how to treat people, how to train people as someone who was a business owner himself, and also just the core skills or competencies to have a business or own a business, which I don't now, but those skills transfer over to any team you're building. Sure. And then the second person that comes to mind is someone I know you've had recently on this show is Steve Wiggins.
Oh, Steve.
Yep. So he again, him and I still very close to this day, as with me and Curtis, and I don't know, maybe we're like the Three Stooges when we get together, but he's also very active in the industry and organizations with commissioning and test and balance. And, the three of us have volunteered with NEB for years, them much longer than me. But as you know, he just has a wealth of knowledge.
That he does.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned this organization. So in the services business, you need to have a certain set of credentials and certifications and things like that.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of those certifications, organizations that you have to do a good job.
Sure. Yeah. As you mentioned, this is a very niche and narrow market.
Very niche, yeah.
And even within commissioning, there's different divisions, if you will, or different disciplines or specialties you can have. So first off, I've been very, very fortunate to have those great mentors that I mentioned, and also to work at places and have people around me that are willing to invest in certifications and training. I think that's extremely important for anyone starting their career, or even if you're in the first 10 to 20 years of your career, frankly. Finding those places, those people the companies that will invest in you and your training and certification.
That's pretty hard too. I noticed in the old days, nobody wanted to share the information.
That's right.
But there seems to be something in the air now
Yeah.
of transfer of information where the old guard is moving in the young guard there. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, that's right. Well, certainly as someone who's young, I appreciate it. And, my mentors, I don't think they've held anything back from me. I mean, I guess I'll never be sure. But I've made my fair share of mistakes, so maybe they have, but I'm sure they did too. So in terms of certification, I've mentioned NEB a couple of times. They're one of the more popular certifying organizations in the commissioning and tab industry, as well as...
So they make a set of specifications that you're supposed to follow guidelines. Now, so a set of specifications, so why would a building owner, facility, hire someone that has those qualifications? It just makes them better than some chuck in a truck, so to speak?
Well, that's one way you could put it.
Yeah.
That might not necessarily be the case compared to everyone, out there who may not be certified. There are certainly plenty of businesses who do amazing work without certain certifications. But I think really it's a guarantee. That if you hire this individual or this company, they have the credentials and they have to be upheld to a certain standard set of procedures that you mentioned. And they have that, what we really call a quality assurance guarantee that will be upheld, whether it's the person or the firm doing the work, or if another firm has to be brought in that organization to make sure the work gets done properly.
This could also be part of specmanship in the contracts.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
So
you learned from that particular organization. You're certified in, as you said, certain tiers of qualifications to do something like that. That's quite amazing. Now, the same token there, I've been to some conferences that you were behind the podium. You were the teacher.
Yeah.
So how do you get involved in that?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't want to say it's by chance. Maybe the best way to put it is you get voluntold. I don't know. No, it's something I've really, and I mean, it's really, really enjoyed doing. As someone who's pretty new to the industry relative to a lot of people, I've been very, very fortunate to be able to teach and train. It's something I'm super passionate about. I'm still being trained and mentored myself, but anything I can do to give back is
it's an evolution.
A blessing.
It's technology keeps changing.
Yep.
We met the guys a few years back who invented the hood. With the short-range stuff that just it wasn't there before. Why not? We never got around to it. Now it's efficient, and now everything is went from mechanical and pneumatic, and now it's digital. So your world keeps changing. So it's a continuous evolution. So in addition to having that kind of fun, I guess you've also done some world traveling. You mentioned back during the COVID era. Where'd you go?
Yeah. So during COVID, I had the opportunity to travel to South Korea. And just to paint the picture here, this was October of 2020. So it was before vaccinations.
Yeah.
And you might remember that was one of the worst summers globally, but particularly in the U.S., kind of coming off of a surge at the end of that summer. And there was a biosafety level 3 lab to be certified and tested and commissioned in South Korea, a couple hours outside of the capital city of Seoul, and had the opportunity to go work on that project.
An interesting time to have it.
It was. So
they do. They let you back.
That's right.
Probably quarantined over there.
Yeah, we did. So we had a 14-day quarantine period, and I think COVID tested 9 or 10 times in the 14 days that we were there. So just about every day, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
So day one was quarantine in this hotel in the capital city. And, you get tested when you come in to make sure you don't have COVID. Had a stack of papers, I kid you not, for the three of us. It was actually me, Curtis, and Steve. So there you go, wrapping that back around. A stack of papers this large for the three of us. And by the time we got through the 4 or 5 hours in the airport to get there, the whole stack of papers was gone. And I was looking down at like, oh my gosh, should I have brought more copies of this?
Yeah.
Because what about the rest of the trip? Are we going to be able to make it to certain places? So we had that first day in quarantine, biohazard bags for our trash and our toiletries, no sheets on the bed, 24 hours there. It was a really nice hotel if they just would have put sheets on the bed. So that was a little bit frustrating for us.
Oh my goodness. That country, though, was probably one of the more purest of the bunch to keep things clean, wasn't it?
Oh, they were. And what was just insane is just how different things were between South Korea and the United States at that time in terms of the progression of COVID. So they're just a smaller country in general, and they tend to be a little bit more isolationist than the United States is, and they locked down really, really hard early on. So when we got over there, there was almost a sense of normalcy, not the quarantining for a day and all the COVID tests, but we spent days maybe 2 through 12 in the hospital attached to the BSL-3 lab that we were working on. And to jump ahead a little bit, days 12 through 14, we had some free time and we were done with quarantine to go tour around Seoul. And I'll never forget, we went to this dumpling restaurant and sat as close as we are now with probably 100 people, elbow to elbow, eating dumplings inside this restaurant, closed, not open air. And you wouldn't have done that in the U.S. at that time. It was takeout only, if you're lucky, if restaurants were still open because of how they struggled. So it was a different world, even though we were having that same shared experience of COVID going on at the same time.
There's a different way sometimes, huh?
Yeah, and what's unfortunate, now don't blame us for this, but a couple weeks after we got back, we heard that they re-entered lockdown. So
talk about timing.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was odd. We were the only American civilians, as far as we know, in the country at that time. Really? Hence the stack of papers. And I still have framed this quarantine plan on like a 17 by 11 that shows our quarantine bubble and who we interacted with each day, the little areas we could and couldn't go to. So it was kind of funny. The three of us, when we finished work for the day, we weren't allowed to talk to each other. We couldn't meet in the hallway of the hospital and talk to each other.
Really?
Yeah, we would call each other over the hospital phones and page me into room 217. So we would spend all day working with each other, eating meals, but it was just odd, the rules and regulations, and just such a weird time, right?
It's you lived through it. And that's all that counts.
Yeah.
It's another experience, and the pictures that you brought back, that's just a beautiful place to go.
Yeah, we had an amazing time, really towards the end there. Yeah. Doing the work was amazing. Anytime you're able to work on a containment laboratory like this BSL-3 lab was, I've done a couple of those in my career, one here in Atlanta and then one in South Korea, and they're super fun to test just because of the systems that they're designed to have and some of the testing you get to do, a lot of failure testing. So, hey, let's kill normal power and see how long it takes a generator to come on. And if we maintain containment, negative containment in this lab, or you have a fully redundant air handling unit system and exhaust system. So, let's turn one of these fans off and pretend it failed and watch what happens. Can we keep the lab negative and things of that sort?
So when you're all done, did you certify then, this facility then?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. So Curtis, who I mentioned, he's certified to test and certify biosafety cabinets and HEPA filters. So we had obviously HEPA filters in the biosafety cabinets, and then we had a HEPA filter bank up on the roof that filtered the air again before it's ejected out into the atmosphere. So we certified the biosafety cabinets. We certified the lab to the CDC NIH standards that are published. And then, of course, we did the typical stuff you see in any commissioning process, test and balance verification, the functional testing. And so, when we walked away, it was, technically a NIH CDC certified lab.
So why they didn't have anybody in the country to do that? They had to bring specialists in the country to take care of this then? Yeah,
that was our understanding, is that, they decided that our team, as you mentioned earlier, had the best credentials to do that.
Had the best credentials, so there you go, validating that once again.
Yep. That's right.
Training, huh? Yep. And that doesn't stop there. He's a volunteer again. He's also a participant in the YPN. What is YPN?
Yes,
Tell me about that.
Sure. So YPN stands for the Young Professional Network. So not to be confused with the OPN, which is the Old Professionals Network.
He keeps talking about the age, how young he is, I'm not young.
Sorry.
Okay, go on.
So it is a NEB organization, so the NEB Young Professionals Network. And there's a core group of about 5 or 6 of us that are considered the voting members who serve on the committee at a national level. And really, it's kind of a grassroots organization. Each chapter has what we call a liaison that volunteers to make up the rest of that committee as corresponding members. So, about, let's say, 20 or 30 people who are volunteering across the country, all representing different regions of the country. And our main goal really is mentorship and growth of NEB and helping people who are new to the industry, to educate them, to train them. So those are kind of our core our core goals or vision statement, if you will.
And to bring the young people on, so just like any business, there's the old guard going out, and you need to get some more young people in,
Yep.
and to make it an attraction. So not everybody knows what this is, and so you're waving a flag. This is what it is.
That's right.
And you stand back there. It's a job that I've seen many people that if they apply themselves, meet certain credentials there, can make a good living at it.
Absolutely.
And travel the world, and can eat sushi and other parts of the country.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. When, I mentioned I studied biomedical engineering, and oh gosh, I hate to say this on camera, but I used to joke with my mechanical engineering friends in school of like, do you guys really want to go work on HVAC systems or
Now, we needed to quantify that. So
Yeah.
audience, not everybody knows what we're talking about. He's working on large facilities, buildings, hospitals,
Right.
universities, kind of things. He's not working on the townhouse or the condo. He
Yeah.
He could,
Yeah.
but that's really not where we're at there. So
Yep.
with that in mind, you've learned a lot. You've had a situation because of the COVID situation, and part of your job is air exchange in a building. Have the rules or technology changed since we've had this COVID situation? What's different now than when was before?
Oh yeah, it'd be hard to even talk about everything different in our industry.
The technology's changed, and are the guidelines have changed as well?
Certainly the guidelines.
Yeah.
I mean, the obvious one to point to is outside air brought into a building. There's been so much more research over the past 5 or 7 years since COVID on that, and some of the guidelines being updated in that regard. One project that I got to work on and adjacent to, I mentioned I did quite a bit of work at the Mayo Clinic, and a lot of that work was done during COVID. It never slowed down because that was all considered essential work. They took a lot of their rooms and made them, let's call them negative containment rooms. Just general patient rooms that were designed to be slightly positive with a certain number of air changes. Well, they kind of flipped that on its head, and now we're going to make these rooms negative if we can, in an effort to just keep contaminants in the room and slow the spread of infection, right?
Yeah.
And this was all done at the time before any true research had come out about the spread of the disease, or certainly we know more about COVID and the spread of other diseases now than we did then. So facilities were just consulting, I guess, folks like myself to do anything they could based on what we knew at the time to prevent the spread of disease. And
we know more and more every day.
Yeah, exactly.
So the bottom line is learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And move forward there, and then keep an open ear, because there's another opinion. There's always another opinion, and the same token there, this is a science. It's got nothing to do with politics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about science there.
Yep.
So if you apply yourself to that, you can have all kinds of interesting feedback as well. So again, the marketplaces that you go visit today, again, so there is an industrial facility, and you mentioned medical facilities. You might want to also describe, we talked a lot about clean rooms. What specifically is a clean room?
Sure, yeah. A clean room has to meet certain guidelines and criteria for its cleanliness. And it's not just, there's no dust or hair on the ground and somebody cleans it once a day. No, it actually has to meet certain guidelines for what are called viable and non-viable samples or levels in the room, if you will. So coming in and actually testing organic and non-organic particles or biologicals in the air and on surfaces, and based on the number of counts, once those are incubated in a lab and sent off, that classifies the cleanliness of the room, right? And you might have heard, an ISO classification, right, of a certain level of that those counts come back at. So done quite a bit of work in clean rooms, mostly in compounding pharmacies at hospitals, and that's something I've really, really enjoyed doing in my career.
So to define that, so this could be in a hospital, this would be operating rooms and some surgery rooms and things like that. And then you mentioned in the pharmaceutical industry, they're making the good stuff to make us better.
That's right. Well, you make sure it's clean on the way out the door, right? Yeah.
So there you go. So just because you're in the services business, not to say that you're fixing the air conditioning in the operating room, this has a dynamic impact on the health and well-being of everybody that's there. So
absolutely, just
like a fireman keeping the building from burning down, at the same token there, disease is the worst thing that you could possibly happen during, in theory, a sanitary situation.
Yeah.
That is quite amazing. So it's an impactful information. At the same token, like you said, I needed to have some critical knowledge to do this, and that's why they brought you in as a specialist to do something like that. So you should feel good about what you do. In addition to fixing air conditionings, you're saving lives right here. So that's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, thank you. That's been certainly the most rewarding part of this job, and the really the relatively short time I've done it is the places I've been able to work in and the impacts that they have. You know, we did have this unfortunate pandemic, but a lot of the work I did during that time was in the healthcare industry. And at the end of the day, maybe, you know, it was hard work or long hours and certainly challenging work just because of the circumstances with the pandemic going on.
Sure.
But you kind of step back from it and you can clearly see right in front of you the impact you're having on.
It's had a dynamic impact.
Yep.
Maybe this might be a good time then. You can make your announcement. Why should a young person get involved in this business?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think what you just said, the impact you can have is the sky's the limit on what you want to do and what industries you want to go into, whether that's healthcare or pharmaceuticals or data centers. I think you'll find that the direct and indirect impact you have on people or products and kind of what's pushed out into society is huge, and I think that's number one. Number two, and frankly, something I was shocked by as someone who kind of made that transition from, am I going to work on medical devices or am I going to work on air conditioning and mechanical engineering? The construction industry is very lucrative industry, and it's growing every day. The biggest example is just the boom of data centers right now.
Boom, 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 boom. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, and healthcare has grown tremendously as we, face challenges with an aging population. We have energy crisis, across the world globally. So this industry, construction, particularly the mechanical engineering and plumbing disciplines, it's only going to continue to grow. As I believe you and Steve talked about previously, there's a massive shortage in the number of technicians we need in this industry. So the opportunity is there, the opportunity to really live an excellent life and make an impact both professionally and personally on people is here in this industry. And I've been really fortunate to kind of experience that firsthand.
And I've learned too, you don't necessarily have to have a degree in engineering to go into this industry. With some organizations that come right out of high school and they'll do some training. So they're looking for people with mechanical aptitudes and people coming out of the military. So if you're looking for a job out there, it's one particular industry to go and take a look at because they're hiring and they need you and has a long-term growth pattern there, and you can actually make some money. How about that?
Yeah, I'm very, very fortunate to work on some projects with the Technical College System of Georgia, and they do a ton of apprenticeships and 2-year programs. So, in fact, I'm wrapping up a project outside of Savannah near where the Hyundai mega plant is down there. And it was a project sponsored by the state of Georgia for Hyundai. It's an electric vehicle training center, which has just been so cool to see the paint booth and all the robotic manufacturing. Very neat project. But being able to support projects like that through the Technical College System of Georgia, where these folks are coming in and training for a couple of years and going right into the workforce with these specialized skills, whether it be in manufacturing of cars or in HVAC, certainly something I recommend.
That is the cool thing. I'm in the flow meter business for 40 years, and you're in this business. We get to see really neat stuff.
Yeah.
You can go to a steel mill to make steel, watch them make cars, watch them make airplanes. It's just, if you have any mechanical aptitude and like really big toys, this is one particular industry to get involved in. Well, you're a busy young guy, and you certainly have a lot of prospects in the future here. So one question that I ask everybody, so if you were to go back in time to your former self, what advice would you give to yourself now after you've spent this time this year in this career? What else would you do? What would you do differently?
Yeah, well, maybe to echo some of the advice I've received from my mentors over the years, investing in people, connecting with people, whether that be through networking or the folks that you work with every day, and really spending time to make sure they're supported, whether that's professionally or personally in their careers, or whether they even just need additional time outside of work. So I'd like to think I've done a good job mentoring and training and investing in people, but that's something I would just reiterate to my younger self of continue to keep those relationships with people. continue to invest in them, train them, close the computer and look at them face to face, hang up the phone call and talk with them and answer their question, whether you think it's silly or elementary. That's something I try to do every day. And I think it pays dividends in the long run to really support those people who are trying to learn from you.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. So do you have a bucket list of things you want to do, or what do you want to do in the future?
Oh, man, great question. Travel is a big thing for me.
You like the travel?
Yeah, I do.
The travel.
I traveled a bit through work, like that South Korea trip, and but do a good bit of personal travel. That's the way that I like to spend my time outside of work. So I can't think of any, no bucket list places right off the bat.
You're still too young, so just wait.
Yeah,
You'll have
that's
it
right.
before you know it. We said the word young again.
Yep.
So that's great. So with that in mind, I'd like to thank you for coming out here today and sharing some of your stories. And you have a very exciting future, young man, with the background that you have in the engineering, in the HVAC community, and in the medical community. So they're all going hand in hand there. So congratulations on that. And I think you're going to do very well. So thanks for your time today, and thanks for coming out.
Well, thanks, Brent.
Nice
Real
to
pleasure.
see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Well, if you found that information of interest, then I would suggest you hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. I will see you on the next video of Flow Meter Guy.